Guys, you gotta see this 61. This one is just beautiful. Just finished the saw. This is probably, and I can say this honestly, the best one I've had in here. Okay, some of you might recognize this saw. Actually, I tell you what it is. It's Andy's saw. My buddy from North Carolina does tree work. It's just that saw we built for his daughter. I'll tell you what, they came back and I'll tell you what the deal is. It's nothing I did, it's just a thing. Or didn't do. I used them tight nickel cylinder. I had 3 of them that I used, okay? And I had one fail in the field, local, rapidly. And that was in the 372. Flaking, cylinder flaking. Another one failed from flaking, but the biggest problem was the ring wouldn't seat. I used a caber ring, and without thinking about it, that's a hard ring and a hard cylinder. Okay, my bad. I told the guys to ship it back. Let me fix it. I took it apart. Sure enough, it's very obvious that the ring didn't seal. But most importantly, the cylinder was flaking in a tight nickel. Well, Andy initially ran this, him and his daughter, and run nice. And he says, Harvey, I can't tune it. Carbs are putting up. Andy went and bought a new carburetor, put it on it, tried it, and it was getting worse. I says, Andy, I got 2 of these. I says, this is the 3rd tight nickel cylinder. I said that I've used. Just send me the saw. I think the cylinder's flaking. Absolutely was. Cylinder's flaking. So we used the original highway cylinder. Just finished this up. Now I'll tell you a little something about these saws. I've always built a nice strong 266, 272, any of the 200 series. I've always been very strong, nice saws. And everybody's been happy with them for 30 years. And, there's an evolution of things. We know how it works. Well, when I built that 86cc 372 for Buck and Billy to go to Paul Bunyan's show with, there was things that had to be changed around quite a bit using that 390 cylinder. And I was in huge gray areas. And I had to actually build 3 of them saws to get the second one actually run too good, and I was afraid it wouldn't hold up, but I've still got that saw. And then when I decided, okay, now we know what we're doing, we had made a big change in the intake, a huge change in the intake. That affected the transfers. That's what the deal was. We was getting way more airflow up than transfers. And I'm going to share some of this with you today, of exactly what makes them tick. 372 has quad loop transfers on the outside. The 61, 66, 266, 272 are on the inside. They depend on the windows in the piston right here to get air. It goes up them and then the inner transfers and then up the upper transfers. And I used to make them big, wide, and deep just to get rid of some of this loss, and it worked great. But when I started playing with these really big 372s, even though it's a different transfer, moving air remains the same. It's the same things. So I started taking notes on my suspicions. Recently, I built a steel 66 Magnum, as you know, have inner transfers. So this doesn't apply to just Husky. It's any of them with windows and a piston and the inner transfers. Okay. This is a beautiful saw. Really beautiful. Now, I've had this run in 15 minutes ago. I got second heat cycle. Need to do a third. Well, what happens is when you get these right, they just snap right now. Just a little quarter throttle goose, and they're really cooking. I may not have to even choke it. Well, I tell you what, I got to do. I got to fix the knot in my rope. I already did this once. So, anyways, that didn't work out so good. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. It's a nice running saw. I'll show it in another video. I'm going to set it aside. And we're going to talk about these. The intake timing can get excessive on these saws real fast. I can't run as much intake timing on this series of saw or the 66 mag as I do like the 372s. I cannot. I generally run 158 degrees in a work saw. Now, this is a work saw. You know, that's what I like, work saws. 372. Okay, that's what I like. A total of 168. That's what I like. 158, I'm sorry. In 66 mag steel, 272 top end stuff, 266, 61. The same number would be 154. Okay, instead of 158. I drop them off 4 degrees, even 5 degrees. And it seems to be a nice balance. Okay, I'm going to tell you what happens, guys. When you open your intakes early, okay, the earlier the better. That gets that air charge coming in real fast. Where your problem is when your piston has to change direction. If it opens earlier, it closes later. You are going to lose part of your pressure back out of your intake, out through your carburetor before that closes. Okay? They're in a work saw. That's just what this is all about. There's a happy medium. There's a very happy medium. It can't be too much. It just can't. If it is, you get blowback. Okay? Now, part of the trick to getting air up these transfers in the inner loop, is you have to capture it, compress it, and let it shove up into your upper transfers. Okay, in the last video, I've covered the shapes, angles, and stuff of what transfers have to be in a 372. The same rules apply to a 272 or 46, 44, 66 mag steel. Same thing. Okay, as you already know, we talked about the inner radius of your transfer and your outer. Well, what happens is in there's a little band right here. Okay, so your air comes out of your piston into this. Now this cylinder's upside down. This is your upper transfer. And yes, these highway cylinders have a beautiful, beautiful upper transfer. But on the inside, you see that part right there? Okay, that inner radius right there. You want to greatly reduce that. And this needs to be polished, okay, or very smooth right in here. The rest of this, I leave rough. I don't make these only just a little wider now. I don't go from here up like I used to. I don't have to. I leave that right alone right there, okay? And this pocket right under this band, that's a little deeper, okay? And you remember what we discussed about that. So you take out the inside of that band all the way around. You'll have to use a round ball on your tooling, and you be careful. And then you'll just take and rip a piece of emery cloth to get it to a narrow strip, and you shove it down there. You just and you'll get that right, okay? And also it applies the same thing as in the last video. You have to angle your upper transfer so that it gets air up over the piston. You have to. Not a lot. You just enough, maybe 8 degrees, something like that. I haven't actually measured. I just kind of got a feel for it. All right. Most importantly, because you don't have a primary and secondary per se, this would be your primary side. This would be your secondary side, which is on the intake. All right. You have to concentrate on getting your airflow, there's the intake, to flow like this. Okay? In the 372, it's like this. I try to get it even closer, and I'm going to show you why. You're trying, and you're concentrating on what would be the primary side. You have to take material out of these darn things. This would be primary. See that bump right there? Take that out. Be careful. I mean, you can get thin right back here. Pay attention how thick of material you got. And so you can take advantage of this. All right? Okay, I got it backwards. Here's my intake. Take that material out of there. You don't have to worry about this so much, but take the material out from here to here at that angle on the intake side. And right here, you're just trying to get that air to move in that direction. Now, something that's going to help a lot of you guys, okay, is get used to this when you're trying to figure out how to get a really nice saw. There's a bunch of you out there building some good stuff. I see it, and I'm loving it. I'm so glad for you. Get where you can read your piston. All right. Now, this one was run rich to get a wash pattern. This is the exhaust side. This is the intake side. Okay. Can you see the angles? See that? See that spot right there and right there? That's what would be on the exhaust side, what I call it, the primary edge. And this would be the secondary. I'm getting around that dome. Remember we was talking about domes? I'm pulling that right around that dome right there. That is absolutely a beautiful, heavy wash pattern. There isn't any doubt that I've got my air going right. And this is what you're looking for as much as possible. And now you'll get a reverse airflow, a turbulence right here. And when that comes up with a narrow squish band, it'll shove that right up onto that dome and fire that. Okay? But that's what you're looking for. And I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. Guys, these saws, we get carried away sometimes and really start pushing numbers. I've run them down to 96 on exhaust opening. I've run them to 176 on intake opening. I've done crazy things to the transfers, moved my upper transfers, everything else. And I'm going to tell you what it is. You're chasing rainbows, just like I did sometimes. And I was like, I'm getting a gain in this one spot, but not where I want. What's going on here? How come the better I get at this, the more the saws only run just a little bit better? And I'm dealing with tunability. I have major trouble with that. So I started jacking the compression way up on a few just to see, and started having bearing failures in the field. And that does happen. And right down to the point you're breaking things. Well, I learned this, and this is about 10 years ago I figured this out. So a long time of building, you finally get smarter after the fact. Instead of backing off on my intake timing, uh, not pushing my blowdown. I used to try to push that as tight to my exhaust opening as I dared. Instead of backing off, except 24, 25 degrees. A blowdown is the difference between when the exhaust opens to when the transfers open. And a lot of guys like them a lot lower than that, but work saws run a little nicer, have more tunability, and you don't have to tune them every damn time you go out in the woods, or go out to cut with weather changes. This is why with work saws, I like just a little longer blowdown. There's a balance to this. Now, when you're starting to get into play saws and stuff, sky's the limit. Knock yourself out. Try everything. You'll be surprised what you end up with. You really will. And there's a lot of you builders out there already know this. You already know this. But a work saw is a different thing. It's a man that made a good living for decades off a power saw. I didn't want something I had to fight with. I didn't want to be saddled with too much compression. I just wanted reliable first. Absolutely reliable. I didn't want to keep breaking ropes. And however, it's the first time I ever had a knot come loose. It happened twice in the same saw, but not on the same rope. I changed ropes. Maybe I can't tug tight as I used to. Super glue, know where that's headed all of a sudden. Super glue. I'll tell you what, them recoils on these series saws, by the time you get that twisted up all the way to suck in all the rope you need, boy, you're getting a little bit sore on your fingers. Like I need more of that, right? But I hope this helps you on understanding your intake. We've talked about the transfers. It doesn't matter whether they're quad loop or inner loop transfers. It's the same thing. You got a short side and a long side. Your short side is that little radius that goes under that bar. Okay? Get rid of that on them 272s as much as you can. And just polish that up with emery, like I just told you. You'll get the hang of it. It makes a nicer saw. And they're getting better all the time. These 272s, 66 mag, roll 46s, I've always had to fight with them to get them really where I wanted them. No big deal. And with great, amazing results. Now, I got an idea. I'm building a much nicer saw than I used to out of that type of transfer. In fact, I know I am. There's no question. I know I am. We have some exciting things coming up. We got some new products to show you. We have some pipes to show you from CPI. I got to get one on 395 or 394 or something. They got some killer pipes. As soon as we get cylinders back from Joe, I'm going to build a real special build for Buck and Billy. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, which most of you know what's going on there. And I can't wait for him. I just can't wait for him to get it in his hands. I can't wait just to get it in my hands first time. As old as I am, every time I fire a power saw, it jumps right to life. It just tickles me to no end. And you go out to the wood pile and make it a little rich, and you make your cuts. And I can't wait for this. I just want to turn it up. Don't. Just run it. Get your work done. That's basically what it's all about. Just get your work done. And when that gets broken a little, go ahead and turn that up and see what she's got, Pretty fun stuff. Now, onward to a little bit of news. And I got questions on this next project. It'll probably start sometime in January. Good news. My son Colin wants to go drag racing. As a bunch of you know, I used to drag race in pro, and then I went for a little bit into super pro in NHRA Winston Cup Series in Division II, by the way. I raced out of Savannah, Georgia, the most, Douglas, all them places, and down into Jacksonville, Florida. And it wasn't a bad sport at the time. This was back quite a long time ago. 30 years, probably 20 years or something. I had a bug a bunch of years ago. I wanted to go do it again. So I built another big block Chevy, a 496. It never been run. I had it for the longest time and still got it. And we're going to take that, which would be a Super Pro at the time, which is a 990 index or faster motor. And we're going to try to get it where he can go run foot brake racing in brackets. Okay? Do some bracket racing. Well, he's never done it before. Now, our track here in Leicester, we call it Leicester, is 8th mile now. Okay? I have done some 8th mile racing. I love them deep gears. You got crazy good launches. So we're going to get good footage out of this. At this moment, unless something different changes, we're going to be running a square body short box Chevy step side 2-wheel drive. I want a fairly heavy vehicle to get rid of some of this motor. Now we're going to take this motor, which is capable of well over 1,000 horse, and we're going to back that off. And we're going to back it off some more. And then we're going to back it off a whole bunch more. Now our problem is we're stuck with awful big dome pistons. And a 496 Chevy's no joke in race trim. It's not. And so we're going to try to do this foot brake racing. The problem is a 2-speed power glide works good in trucks too with deep gears. It's already got the trans brake. All we need is a 2-step. I don't have the ignition anymore. I'll use MSD stuff. But now we can get them with a 2-step built right in, the 6AL. I'd love the 6AL too. You can read up on them. They're a programmable ignition curve. There's advantages of that for me. And we'll probably retard the cam 6 to 8 degrees that we've chose. Yeah, I know. We're trying to run 13s or 14s with a pickup. Okay. I've got it theoretically, because you got little charts and tables you use, that we can get him down to 1039 in a quarter. So, that's pretty fast. I haven't translated it to 8th mile yet, but that's too fast. We don't want to have to put a cage in it. We're going to use leaf spring. I know the leaf springs. I know the setup. But just make it a fun ride. So he's going to have the trans brake and everything, but I'm not going to hook it up till he gets used to this motor. Gets used to there's a natural rhythm turning into the water box, doing your burnout, coming to your lights, pre-staging, staging, getting used to all that, launching, getting down the other end safely, and backing off. And yeah, we'll have him on wrinkle walls, so he's got to get used to that too. That's a kind of a interesting, to say the least, on the other end. If you just let right off throttle, they kind of want to do a dance on you. You got to kind of feed them back a little bit, and let the tires settle down. So he's got a big learning curve, but he's willing to put the time in, and just like he does everything else he does, he's a big success at, because he's willing to pay his dues. He learned that in the Marines. Yep, that he sure did. So if you have an interest in it, we'll show a little bit of the build. In fact, we have a set of heads coming tomorrow or Thursday for it. The intake, I had to be here before Christmas, that I've chosen. And I always run the Brodix heads. Now, the ones I've got now are not current. They're not. But they make hellish horsepower. We don't need that. So what we've done is backed off, and we're going down to a 320cc intake runner, aluminum head, and we're trying to go a little milder. We still have to run a Holley 950 double pumper, or the equivalent of. The problem is we just got a real bargain on a beautiful Brodix intake. If you're curious about the intake we're going to run, look up the Brodix high velocity intake. I think they're 8 inches. And that'll match up well to our heads. Now, I have chose aftermarket heads because I figure that they won't make the power that the Airflow Research heads or the Brodix makes. I'm positive of it. We'll probably have to blend bowls, CCM, things like that. Of course, with a roller cam, we have other complications, but it'll be a gentler motor to drive than with a solid lifter. I like the solid lifter cams, I'm sorry. But I think we're better off with a roller in this case because I can back off on that and still have good lift. I can shorten my duration, have good lift, and have a super controllable cam. So this is going to be fun. If you guys are interested, we'll show it. If not, we'll just show it when it's done. It's going to be fun, and my son's going to learn a lot. And I'm glad he decided to do this. Racing off foot brake and brackets is really quite cheap in today's world. It really is. Now, here's where I had some questions. There's a lot of you guys out there that are sharp. I am looking at the fact I would like to try the E85 fuel. Okay? Now, what that is, I know, what's the E85? It's flex fuel. You can buy it right at the pump. It's 110 octane at the pump. And I've took some, tested it. I know what it is. It's 85% methanol, or ethanol, 15% gas. It has 110 octane at our local pump. So I know what I'm dealing with. Now it will take approximately, from what I understand, 30% more fuel. I don't run power valves in my race carbs, front or back. I don't, not on gasoline. I think it's okay to run no power valve on the secondary side, but it looks like I've got to run about a 6 or 6.5 power valve in the front. Of course, we got to have that power valve pop-off valve protection in the event that you get a backfire through the carb, which can be very violent. And so I'm going to do that, a different timing curve. It'll accept our compression ratio that we have. We'll end up down the 12.5 to 1 compression with the heads we've chose. Okay? I think that would be a fairly sane number. But share any of you that have run the E85 and understand it. Please share the concerns you have, your successes, and what you had to do about it in the comments, or give me an email. It doesn't matter which. Ironhorse chainsaw at gmail.com is how you email, or leave it right in the comments. I actually get the comments guaranteed. So we've got that going on. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with Cullen on this project. Just the build is going to teach him a whole bunch. And now, you think a one-cylinder chainsaw gets complicated, balance out 8 cylinders so they produce even power. There's the trick. It really is. And everything you're dealing with, the big block Chevrolet has got to have bulletproof valve train, absolutely guaranteed, or you got nothing but trouble. This one's got the money spent, bottom end and top. It's already spent. We will be changing the springs. We'll go to just a little lighter spring because the springs that's in there are for real heavy lift. So we'll be doing that and blending the bowls, cleaning up a few casting imperfections, not doing a full port job, not doing it. My buddy that had the flow bench that would help me flow them is no longer with us. He died a few years ago. So I understand his son still got the equipment. I'd love to have the equipment. I really would. Flow benches have changed a lot, but I think theirs is good enough that we can see that we have every cylinder accurate. That's the one thing that's important. Now, when you're talking about these race engines, you think taking these saws apart and putting them back together all the time, how many times you have to do it to get your numbers with one little cylinder on a 2-stroke? You can imagine with a big block Chevrolet how many times you take that motor apart and put it back together if you're concerned. A lot of people just slap them together, but I like knowing everything is just so. Okay? You don't have to have high dollar parts. You just got to have damn good parts in these motors straight away. Okay, guys, talk to me in the comments. And we will be back. I think tomorrow is another good video day. And we'll be running this 61 that I broke the rope in twice while come unknotted. We'll be running the saw. Goodbye.